Here on The Freedom Strategy, we try to help people transition from the life they have to the life they want. And what many of you want is to be able to spend extended periods of time over in Europe. So today I am going to show you what we did, and that is to get an extended stay visa in Spain, which opens up all kinds of doors for you in Europe. My name is Heather, and my husband Paul and I have decided for the next phase of our lives, what was important to us is to be able to travel the world. And there are many different ways of doing that, but one of the ways that hit our radar is to be able to get a long stay visa in Spain. Now, why is this important? It is important because if you successfully get a long stay visa in Spain, you are able to travel throughout all of the Schengen countries that usually limit you to 90 days, but with a long stay visa, you can travel for a year. And it is an incredible opportunity. So let me explain to you, number one, what a long stay visa is, who it's for, and how to get it done. Because when we did it last year, there was really not very good information out there. So that is what I am here to show you. Now, to start with, there are many types of visas you can get in Spain. There are work visas, there are student visas, but what I am going to talk to you about is what often is called the retirement visa, but technically what they call it is the non-lucrative visa. And what that really means is you are committing that you're not going to work in Spain for the time you were there. What that really means is you're not going to work for a Spanish company. So if you are a remote worker and the company you work for is back in the United States, that is totally fine, no problem with that. So like I said, when we did this earlier this year, there just wasn't a lot of information out there and there was conflicting information. So what I'm doing in this video is I'm going to tell you the steps that you need to go through to get the long stay visa in Spain, and then also the paperwork. And it's a lot of paperwork, but trust me, it is worth it. Spain is just lovely, and Europe in general, we just love going there. So it's totally worth it. Now, a couple of things to pay attention to. I do want to point out that these rules do constantly change, so you always are going to have to look back at the consulate site to just make sure that when you're applying, it's the same information that we needed when we were applying. If it's different, it's going to be minor differences. Also, this is going to be a broad brush stroke overview. If you want more detail, click on the link below, and I have a handout that will outline it in more detail. So this is for people who can support themselves and will not rely on Spain to support them. And the current requirement is approximately 50 to 60,000 US dollars per year. You have to show that you have that in your account or that you're getting that from a pension or Social Security. That number does change, so again, be sure to verify that. The first thing that you need to do is to figure out which consulate applies to you, and that is based on where you live in the United States. Our primary residence is Arizona, and so the consulate that is in charge of handing out long stay visas actually is in Los Angeles. So you're going to have to go do a little Google research on, based on where you live or where your residency is, which consulate is approved to give visas. I believe at the time of this recording, there are 6 of them across the country, maybe 8, but please make sure to look at which one is appropriate for you. And then you click on that website and they will give you the list of documents. Now, what I'm going to tell you, the steps are supposed to be universal. That's not really true though. It turns out the Los Angeles one is a lot more difficult than the rest of them, and they kind of have their own set of rules. What I will tell you is that there is a fly buzzing me. What I will tell you is you just have to kind of go with it and roll with the punches and just accept they do get to make the rules because you are trying to live in their country. So just accept it for what it is. Now, once you figure out which consulate that you need to go to in order to get your long stay visa, that's the website that you're going to always want to go through. The first and maybe one of the most difficult steps is you need to get an appointment because you will have to apply in person. Now, for the LA one, that took me months to go online multiple times a day to see when the appointments were available. It's very frustrating. My understanding is other consulates are not quite that difficult. You log on, you make an appointment, and then you have to show up in person for that appointment. That is step one. Then you're going to show up for your appointment and you're going to turn in all of your documents. And I'm going to tell you in just a minute what those documents are. And you give them your documents and you also give them your passport, which is a little unnerving to give up your passport. But that's the way it is. So then they collect all of the documentation, send it off to get approved, and then they will send back your passport with your visa inside the passport. So yes, you will get your passport back. It can take anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, I believe, depending on which consulate you are going through. So once you get that back, they will notify you by email. Please check your email. My husband almost missed his because it looked like junk mail, but we each got our own email. And then you go back to the consulate in person to pick it up. That is an easy peasy process. You show up with your driver's license, they give you your passport with it stamped inside. So that part is easy. Once you do that, then you have 90 days to check in to Spain. Then the next step is you go to the Spain local office where you are going to be residing. And it's usually actually a police station. Not always, but usually. You go to the police station with all of your paperwork. They will know what to do. That part is easy. Now, in some of them, you have to make an appointment ahead of time. Some of them you can just walk in. If I were you, I would Google that particular area where you're going to want to go first. So then you know. Sometimes that appointment can take up to 30 days to get, so just plan accordingly. Now, even though at that point, when you go to Spain, you will not have your actual long stay visa, what you will have gotten from the consulate in the United States is an entry visa that then gives you 90 days to get that visa. So it's a little bit of a confusing two-step process, but you'll have everything you need. Then when you make your appointment and you go to the police station, you show them your paperwork, they will fingerprint you just to make sure that you match up who you said you were back in the United States. They'll fingerprint you, then they will process your residency card. That card can take anywhere from 7 to 30 days to get. It's usually pretty fast, and you will go pick it up in person. Sometimes they will mail it to your residence. You can just talk to them when you go. I will say it's pretty useful to know some Spanish. I can't say I'm fluent, but I knew just enough to get me by, and it actually did help quite a bit. They really, really appreciated that I tried. So once you get that from the local police station, you're golden. You are good to go. You have a year not only in Spain, but in all the Schengen countries, and you'll get to go in and out at your will. And that is the beauty of getting the long stay Spain visa. Now, let me get to the paperwork. Yes, it's a lot and it's a little bit complicated, but if you're highly organized and you go through it step by step by step, you should be just fine. So again, I'm going to go over with you the documents, but for more detail, go ahead and click that link below. Also, super curious, like, why do you want to get a long stay visa? Are you going to go live there, or are you going to travel in the Schengen countries? Put your comment below. I would love to hear from you guys. All right, let's get to the paperwork. Again, it helps to be organized. I would keep everything in a file on your computer desktop so it's easily accessible, but keep in mind you will have to print all of these things out, 2 copies of each. So keep that in mind. Now, the first thing is there are 2 visa applications that you're going to need to fill out. You can find them on the consulate's website. The first one is a general visa application, and the second one is a non-lucrative visa application. They are separate. Please make sure to do both. Now, I'm going to run through these documents in no particular order. The first thing that I found the most interesting is that you will need to prove that you have health insurance in Spain. Now, we had an international health insurance policy that covered Spain, but that was not good enough. It needed to be a Spanish health insurance company with 0 deductible. Now, that sounds daunting. It's not really. There are companies that specialize in this in Spain. If you Google it, you'll find a bunch. I'll put a link to one or two below. And so all you do is you apply online. It's super easy. I don't even recall that there were any health questions. It's not very expensive when you consider the cost of health insurance. In the United States, I believe Paul and I got our policies for a total, for two of us, $200 a month. And it's good for the whole year. Now, we did have to prepay for the whole year, so you do have to prepay, but it's $200 a month. And in Spain, we are completely 100% covered with health insurance, with no deductible. So that's pretty cool. I give that one a thumbs up, even though I kind of complained at the time that I had to get it. It's actually really not a bad idea. Now, the next thing you're going to need to get is proof that you can support yourself for the year that you're going to be there. There are a number of ways to do this. If you are retirement age or older, they will want to see your Social Security statements to show that you have enough income to support yourself. Or you can show a pension. That works just as well. Now, we were not at retirement age officially at the time, so we needed some additional documentation. We had to show bank accounts that showed, again, not only that we had enough investments in that covered the amount of money they required, but also that it was easily accessible, like cash. So parts of our investment accounts are in cash. That was enough. They didn't all have to be in cash. So that is how we showed that we had enough to support it. You could also show if you have a house that you rent out, the lease, the rental income lease from that would also be sufficient. Again, keep in mind, when you go to the consulate in the United States to apply, each person is going to give different weight to different types of documents. So again, just be open-minded, don't get upset, just show, yes, here we have an income here, or we have assets here. It really shouldn't be a problem. Another document you need is a criminal background check. Now, please make sure to do it through the FBI. Go online. It was very easy to get done. And then you also have to have it apostillized, which means the official stamp, the raised stamp. That's a separate fee. It gets mailed in, it gets mailed back. So again, plan accordingly because it takes time to get all these documents put together. The poor man in front of us who applied, he had gone through the entire process but did a state criminal background check that was not sufficient, so he was rejected. So he had to go start over. So federal, make sure it's federal. Now, having said that, another document you need is proof of your residence, where you live. So for us, we just used our driver's license, and that was perfectly fine. But they need that to make sure you are at the proper consulate's office. Now, you will also need to get a declaration of health from your physician. Now, they're not trying to make sure you're in perfect health. What they are trying to make sure is that you are not going to bring any communicable diseases to Spain. So it's very reasonable. They have the form online. You just have your doctor fill it out. Piece of cake. Now, if you are applying as a married couple, you will also need your marriage certificate. You will need to have that certified by the state where you were married. So again, not a difficult process, but it can take some time, so please plan accordingly. And then, as I mentioned before, you will also need to give up your passports. They also would like you to have a separate passport picture because they keep it with their own file. So you'll need your passport, but you'll also need a passport photo. I brought 2 of each of us just in case. They only took 1, but I would bring 2 just to be safe. Now, once you have all of your documents ready, this next step was kind of annoying but understandable, and that is you have to have them translated into Spanish. And that by itself, not that big a deal. However, you have to have it translated by somebody that's on their approved translation list. You find that online. It's easy to find. What was difficult was actually finding somebody to do it. I had to go through probably 10 or 12 of the names before somebody even responded. And then when I finally got a response, she couldn't do it, but she said her sister-in-law was also approved and passed it off to her sister-in-law. Now, once I got that person, she was incredible. She just was fast. She was very accurate, very organized, and got it done beautifully. I will put her link below. I don't know if she still does it. My guess is she probably does. So that can take some time. Do not bother with your appointment unless you have all of that done. They will require it. And that's pretty much it. You're going to take all those documents to the consulate. They're going to sit there and go through them with you one by one by one. They will make sure they're appropriate. It's possible you might have one or two deficiencies. Depending on the severity of the deficiency, they might just reject your application like the poor man ahead of us did. But for us, for example, I thought our international health insurance policy would work. She said no. And so what she said is you must get the Spain 1 year before we will let you pick it up, but we're going to go ahead and process it assuming you do that. And that's exactly what we did. We got it, we got proof, brought in the receipt. When we picked up our visa stamped in our passports, and she did check to make sure we have it, and we did, and she turned it over. So that is it. It wasn't easy, but it certainly can be done. And I'm telling you, we had the most glorious time in Spain, and we can't wait to go back and exercise our 1 year visa. We are going to enjoy it so much. Again, it is what the Freedom Strategy is about. It is about helping you transition from the life you have to the life you want. A life of travel is what we want. It's what we call our encore. So what is your encore? Put that in the comments below. Thank you for tuning in to the Freedom Strategy. We will see you next time.